It all started as a seemingly ordinary weekend adventure. I had planned a solo hike into the mountains, something I'd done many times before. The crisp air, the challenge of the climb, and the sense of peace I always found on the trails were my escape from the stress of daily life. But this time, things didn't go as planned. I arrived at the trailhead early in the morning, equipped with my backpack, water, snacks, and a map. My phone was charged, and I had a backup battery pack. The trail I chose was supposed to be a relatively easy loop, taking about 8 hours to complete. I figured I'd finish by late afternoon and be back home before dark. Little did I know, a simple mistake would turn this hike into a harrowing 3-day survival ordeal. About 3 hours into the hike, I reached a fork in the trail that wasn't marked on my map. Trusting my gut rather than retracing my steps, I chose the left path. It seemed well-trodden, and I assumed it would reconnect to the main trail eventually. As I walked, the path grew narrower, with dense vegetation closing in around me. After another hour, I realized I hadn't seen a trail marker or another hiker in quite some time. Still, I didn't panic. I thought I could backtrack, but the overgrowth made it hard to tell where I'd come from. I tried using my phone's GPS, but the signal was spotty. By the time I admitted I was lost, the sun was already beginning to set. I found a small clearing, built a makeshift shelter out of branches, and tried to conserve my energy. The next morning, I woke up sore and hungry. My snacks were running low, and I had already finished half of my water. Knowing dehydration would be my biggest threat, I decided to search for a stream or river. I remembered reading that following downhill slopes often leads to water, so I abandoned the faint trail and began descending through the thick forest. Hours passed, and I still hadn't found any water. My throat was dry, and my legs felt like lead. Just as I was about to give up hope, I heard the faint sound of running water. I followed the sound and discovered a small creek. Relief washed over me as I drank and refilled my bottle, but I knew I couldn't stay there indefinitely. By the third day, I was exhausted, hungry, and starting to lose hope. I rationed my water carefully, but I had no more food. I began to doubt my ability to find my way back, and the thought of being stranded in the mountains forever crept into my mind. My phone battery was almost dead, so I turned it off, hoping to save it for an emergency. Just as despair was setting in, I heard something that made my heart leap: voices. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but the sounds grew louder. I scrambled up a hill and saw 2 hikers in the distance. Waving my arms and shouting as loudly as I could, I managed to get their attention. They rushed over, and I nearly collapsed from relief. The hikers gave me water and snacks, then helped me find the main trail. It turned out I had wandered miles off course, far from where I was supposed to be. They had been searching for a campsite and happened to pass through the area where I was lost. Once we reached the trailhead, I contacted my family, who had been worried sick and were about to call for a search and rescue team. Looking back, the experience was terrifying but also humbling. It taught me the importance of preparation and respect for nature. Now, I always carry extra supplies, let someone know my itinerary, and double-check my maps before heading out. That hike changed the way I view the outdoors, and reminded me how small and fragile we are compared to the vastness of nature.